I had to deliver the first lecture known as Brihaspati Memorial Lecture organized by Vijnarayan. And I didn't know that I would be called upon to give a talk of any on any other subject. It so happened that only yesterday Kalpana Banerjee met me and wanted me to give a talk on Indian music under the auspices of the Institute of Cultural Dynamics. This institute has been established by a very dear friend of mine who unfortunately is no more in the land of the living. He has joined the choir invisible. And so I couldn't say no. I wasn't prepared for the lecture, and I told her that would be a kind of informal talk and not a formal lecture. But she said, whatever it may be, it would be welcome. So, in a way, I'm grateful to Kalpana Banerjee that she has called upon an 87-year-old fogey to speak on the aesthetics of Indian music. In the words of the Persian poet Omar Khayyam, the leaves of life are falling one by one. The wine of life is oozing drop by drop. I have been in the thick of the great tradition of Indian music, at least for the last 60 or 70 years. And as time is rolling by, I find that in certain respects there has been a terrible deterioration in Indian music. And if Indian music requires one very important thing just now, it is the cultivation of aesthetics or the understanding of aesthetics so far as Indian music is concerned. In the Upanishads, it has been beautifully said, Anandadheva khallimani bhutani jayante, Anandena jatani jivanti, Anandam prayanti abhisambhishanti. The entire creation is only a manifestation of divine joy, of divine anand. And all creative work, therefore, is only a manifestation of anand. When, for instance, we have some purpose to fulfill, we talk. But when we have no such purpose, when it is only an expression of an inner joy, we sing. When we have some purpose, we walk. When we have no such purpose, we dance. And so, all art, whether it is poetry or music or painting or whatever it may be, all art is really speaking a manifestation of divine joy. And so is also music. But unfortunately, today we have very few artists. We have mostly artisans. One great difficulty that I find in my talk today is that I shall not be able to explain my point of view without illustrations. And an old man like myself is hardly fit enough to give illustrations. But I shall try, and you'll excuse me for my shortcomings, because an old man like myself, and I have never been a performer, is not expected to give a very accurate illustration. But that will serve, whatever it may be, it will serve my purpose. Now, friends, in art, unless there are these two effects, namely aesthetic effect and emotional expression, it can hardly be called an art. I make a distinction between art and craft. A table, that is a work of craftsmanship. A beautiful pair of shoes, that is a work of craftsmanship. There is beautiful skill there also involved, just as it is involved in art. But beyond that, there is no emotional expression. Art, I think, begins where there is emotional expression. And more than that, where there is rasa. We shall come to it later. Unfortunately, I find that Indian music is slowly tending towards craft rather than art. And within the last 50 or 60 years, I have noticed a gradual decline so far as the artistic side of our music is concerned. I have therefore advisedly selected this topic so that I may be able to give expression to my views, which I feel very strongly on this particular topic. Now, in art, as I said, the two things are essentially important, namely aesthetic beauty and emotional expression. Even when you choose a particular sari, for instance, with a particular blouse, for instance, you have to observe the law of matching of colors. In painting also, there is the law of the matching of colors. Though it may not rouse any particular definable emotion, it pleases the eye. There are certain physical laws lying behind that particular matching of colors which pleases the eye. Though you may not be able to define that it has any particular emotion, but at least it has this physical law of pleasing the eye. That is what we mean by aesthetic beauty. Now, the first thing to notice is, do we really try to think out and express aesthetic beauty in our singing? For instance, if we say, ni re ga re ni re sa, you may not be able to define whether it has any particular emotion, but it has at least aesthetic beauty. The way in which Gandhar is enunciated, the way in which Rishabh and Shad are enunciated, brings out a certain matching of notes, just as there is matching of colors, which pleases the ear, just as the matching of colors pleases the eye. So that then, two things were pointed out to me by the late Pandit Vishnu Narayan Bhatkhande, when he used to reside in Lucknow for at least about 6 months in the year when the Bhatkhande Vidyapith was established, which was then known as the Marist Music College. I was then a lecturer in philosophy and English in the DAV College, Kanpur, and I used to visit Bhatkhande ji almost twice or thrice a month, so long as he used to reside in Lucknow. And he told me that the main thing which has been emphasized in our training and also in our Shastra is what is called Uchchar. Uchchar means enunciation. Enunciation includes both voice production and note production. How you will actually produce a particular note, how you will render it in a particular voice. These are the two fundamental important aspects of the aesthetic beauty of music. And he gave me certain examples. I shall quote one example. I had memorized his Shahana, Avagun Bharo, etc. in one of his books, according to the notation in which that particular song was printed. And I went and sang it to Panditji. I said, "Sir, is it correct?" He said, "Yes, it is perfectly correct. But it is not what I want." I'll just give you an illustration. The way in which it is expressed in notation and the way in which I had tried to mug it up. Avagun bharyo sakal nath mero apano samaj maaf kije ghalero avagun. That is how I had memorized, and I sang it to Panditji. Pandit said, "Yes, it is quite all right according to the notation, but it is not what I want." And then said, "Sir, what do you want?" He said, "The uchchar is missing. The notes are correct, but the uchchar is missing." And I said, "What do you mean by uchchar?" He said, "The enunciation of the notes and the production of the voice." And then I requested him to give me an illustrative example of that particular uchchar which he wanted. And this is how he started. Avagun, avagun, bharyo sakal nath mero apano samaj maaf kije ghalero avagun. Now you see, the notes are the same. The notation is the same. The song is the same. But this uchchar, this enunciation of the notes, and the particular voice production, this makes all the difference. And this is what is known as the aesthetic side of our music. Even the swaras that we sing, it all depends on how we enunciate them. I had been to Baroda once, and I went to see Ustad Fayaz Khan. He was an old friend of mine. He was practicing Jaunpuri at that time. And I noticed he was practicing Jaunpuri in Sargam. And I noticed in the very Sargam, he brought out the entire ethos, the entire spirit of the raga. This is what he was doing. Sa re ma pa ni dha pa dha ma pa ga re ma pa. Have you seen? Sa re ma pa ni dha pa dha ma pa ga re ma pa. Makes all the difference. Makes all the difference. What we do today is that we don't try to train the student in the aesthetic aspect of our music, which consists in the very essentials of note production and voice production. That is the first thing which I would like to bring to your notice. So, in the aesthetics of Indian music, whether it is Carnatic music or Hindustani music, that is entirely immaterial. And I suppose in the aesthetics of all music, the first essential is that there should be an aesthetic approach to the note production and the voice production. And that will make a good deal of difference so far as the rendering of that particular raga is concerned. Now, even in the so-called Lakshana Gitas, this was a great contribution that the late lamented Panditji made to our music. When he had been to South India, he found that in his memorable book, a South Indian had written many Lakshan Gitas in notation. And Panditji thought that if we could have Lakshan Gitas for Hindustani music also, that would go a long way in giving a very sound training to our students. And so he started writing Lakshan Gitas. Now he presented to me some 14 parts of his Lakshan Gitas. That was the year 1914. He had already published 14 parts. And the first Lakshan Gita that I tried to learn from that particular book was Vageshwari. And once again, when he came to Lucknow, I went and sang it out to him. I'll first of all sing it as I found it in the notation. Gao Bhagesari Mridu Lagat Sur Gani Khar Har Priya Tat Tivar Karat Dhare Gao Bhagesari. I sang it out to him. He said, no, this will not do. I said, but that is how you have rendered it in notation. He said, now, here is the point. Here is that point where the teacher comes in. So far as the note production and the voice production is concerned, no notation, however perfect it may be, no notation in the world can bring it out. And it is here that the living voice of the teacher is important. And here again, as he rendered it, I'll try to imitate that. Now this is how it is given in the notation. Gavo Bhagesari. Now he started like this. Gavo, Gavo, Gavo केसरी मृदु लगत सुरगनी. Now he said, now the third important thing is the praman of the note, the vazan of the note. How much of the note will be enunciated? Mridu lagata suragani. This is how it is given in the notation. They said, no, sing like this. Mridu lagata suragani gani. Not the full pancham. That makes all the difference. Even in another Lakshan Geet of Bhim Palasi. Now the antara is like this. Arohana mein ridhana lagavat surabadi madhyam ko banawat samaya tritiya prahar dina kahavat. That is how it is given in the notation. And that is how I sang it out to him. He said, no. Arohana mein. Now it is not like this in the notation. Arohana mein ridhana lagavat ridhana lagavat surabadi madhyam ko banawat. Said, pause after ko. Surabadi madhyam ko banawat samaya tritiya prahar dina kahavat. So that three things he brought to my notice: note production, voice production, and the praman, the vazan, the measure of each particular note. Another example that he gave to me was in Tilak Kamod. In his own books, it is like this. Dukhawa mein kaise kahun mori sajani tarap tarap nikas jat jiya piya bina kal nahi pare ghari palachina. That is how it's given in the book. Now I said, no, you shouldn't sing it like this. Bring the kaku effect on va. I shall come to kaku later on. Do not say ka se kahun mari. Don't pronounce the pancham in its full measure. Ka se kahun mari sajani. Put a nyas on the nishad. Tarap tarap nikas jat jiya. Bring out a kaku there. Piya bina kal nahi pare ghari palachina dukhva mein. note production, voice production, and the proper measure in which each note will be enunciated. These are the three primary essentials of the aesthetics of Indian music and perhaps of the aesthetics of all music of the world. And this is what is lacking in our musicians. We go on, first of all, a proper enunciation of the wording or of the note is hardly noticed these days. The musician goes on enunciating the note or the wording behind that note in any way he likes. So these three essentials, particularly in training students, these three essentials are the primary ones which have got to be observed in the aesthetic effect of our music. Now we come to rhythm. Now there is such a thing as what Dr. Ward calls in his psychological principles as the psychic rhythm. There is the physical rhythm, but there is also the psychic rhythm. With each feeling, there is a particular rhythm of the mind, and unless the musician brings out the psychic rhythm in his singing, he has failed miserably to render it as a piece of art. Now, Bharata in his Natya Shastra takes up the various emotions, and these emotions each of them has got its own psychic rhythm. For instance, in Krodh, he says in Krodh, you cannot have a Vilambit rhythm. In Krodh, you must have either a Madhya or a Drut rhythm. For instance, I am angry with somebody and I say, I can't say, Jao yahan se, I'll say, Jao wahan se. I'll have to say like that. That is the psychic rhythm. And so, in our music, in the rendering of our music, according to the prakriti of the song, according to the prakriti of the raga, according to the prakriti of the teaser, according to the ethos and spirit of all that, you have to choose the psychic rhythm. And it is only then that you will bring out the emotional effect of that particular piece. I had gone to Gwalior, I think it was the year 1940 or so, and a gentleman was singing, Kaun gat bhaile, kaun gat bhai, gat 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 bhaile, kaun gat bhai. I said, my God, what is this? It was of course Bhagyashri Rag, but the rhythm which he had chosen for the Rag was a medium or a drut one. And what is the prakriti of the song? Kaun gat bhaili, piya na pooche mori ek baat. What a miserable state of my feelings. My lover doesn't care for me in the least. Now, is this to be sung in a fast or a medium rhythm? When the recital was over, the gentleman came to me and said, how did you find it? I said, uski jo kuch gat hui hogi to hui hogi, aapne to iski gat bana di. Kya isme gabad tha sahab? And then and there, I said, I shall try. Kaun gat bhaile mori, piya na pooche ek Now this makes all the difference. What is the rhythm that you are going to choose? What is the tala that you are going to choose? Will you choose? Will you select any rhythm, any tal which your fancy demands? No. It has to be fitted in with the psychic rhythm, with the ethos of that particular cheese, of that particular song and the particular rag. So, this is the fourth thing that we have in the aesthetics of our music. The first, and these are primary essential things which nobody bothers about. The first thing is that there should be a proper enunciation of the note, there should be a proper production of the voice. The second thing, that there should be a particular praman of each note which will contribute to the aesthetic effect of the whole song. And lastly, a particular rhythm which is in consonance with the psychic rhythm and with the ethos of that particular song should be selected by the performer. Now, the fourth important thing, these are the already four. The fifth important thing is the emotional expression. Now, one very important word that occurs in poetic literature and musical literature of our country is ka. The word kaku is a Sanskrit word for which I do not find a parallel in any other language that I know of. It can't be translated by one word. It is derived from the root kai in Sanskrit, and as the dictionary tells us, laulyopatapayoho. That is to say, laulya means the flexibility of the voice, upatap means the emotion. There should be such flexibility of the voice that it should bring out the emotion involved. So unless you have this emotional expression by means of kaku prayog, you cannot have a very high kind of art. There is all the difference between an artist and an artisan. It is easy enough to be an artisan, putting brick upon brick of notes, but it is certainly demands a good deal of aesthetic sensibility in the artist himself to bring out the emotional expression and the aesthetic effect of the raga. Take again a piece in Bhagyeshwari. Ter suno brajraj dulare. Ter suno, 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 now, suno, that is that kaku. Suno, that is that kaku. Suno, there is again that kaku effect. So, this kaku is another very important aspect of our classic, of our aesthetics in Indian music, which brings out the emotional effect of the raga. Of course, I am not a very good example of that, but I have given you only a rough idea of how this kaku is to be brought about. For instance, Abdul Karim Khan. Now, the secret of the great magic that he exercised in his music was the Scarpe effect. The way in which he enunciated a particular note in such a manner as to bring out the emotional expression involved. And unless you do it, and that is what Ustad Fayyaz Khan used to do. See, for instance, increase the amplitude of a particular note in order to bring out the Kaku effect involved. So that then, friends, these are the important essentials, and there are of course many more, but these are the main important essentials, namely the note production, the proper enunciation of the note, the voice production, the praman of the note, the rhythm in which the particular thing will be expressed, and the kaku effect which will be brought about by means of the proper production of the note in order to express the emotion involved in that particular piece. In Sangeet Ratnakar, there is a classification of 4 kinds of artists: Shikshakar, Anukar, Bhavuk and Rasik. Sarangdev says that in music you have these 4 classes of artists. Shikshakar is one who has received the proper training and renders it grammatically correctly. That is a Shikshakar artist. But it is all body of music without its soul. The structural composition is all right, but the nadatma side of it is absent. That is the Shikshakar. The Anukar is one who has not received a proper training, but who imitates great artists. He has a gift of imitation, but he misses the essentials of that raga, and so he is also not a great artist. The third is the bhavu, who brings out the emotion involved, bhava, but he also is not a very great artist. He says the rasik is the greatest artist. Now what does he mean by this? He draws a distinction, and that is a distinction which will be found in the entire piece of the poetic literature of the country, between bhav and rasa. Bhav, bhavati iti bhava. What is happening to a man, an emotion that a particular man is experiencing, at that level it is only bhava. But when he raises it from the level of the ordinary life to the level of art, then it is not bhavatiti bhava, it is bhavayatiti bhava. The very word bhav has 2 meanings. Bhav is what is happening to you. You are in grief and you are crying. It is shoka bhav, but it is not karuna rasa. Because even in karuna rasa is that where even in shok you feel anand. It is alaukik, it is transcendental, and there comes in rasa. When you universalize that particular bhav, when it is not the expression of a particular individual, but the expression of man as such, of woman as such, not any particular man, Shakuntala or Dushyanta or anybody, then it rises to the position of a rasa, and that is divine. And that, according to Sarangdev, is the highest piece of art. When the artist who is singing can, by his kaku effect and other essential effects, express that particular song in such a manner as to make it the universal feeling of mankind. It is then only that there is a paripak, maturity of rasa. And therefore, what we need today is the rasic aspect of our artists. Unfortunately, the great tragedy of our Indian music has been that it fell into the hands of illiterate or semi-literate people. It requires a general background of culture in order to be able to understand the subtleties of art. Of course, there are certain born artists who, even though they have not read anything, but they are born artists like Bade Ghulam Ali Khan, Ustad Fayyaz and another artists. That's a different matter. But when you have understood the subtleties of the aesthetics of our art, it is only then that you can really become a great artist. Even then would be required another gift without which you can't become a great artist. And in the words of Abhinavagupta, there are two sides of any art, prakhya and upakhya. Prakhya is intuition. The nearest word that I can think of in the English language is intuition. That is prakhya. When you can take a dip into it and become steeped in that particular aspect or in that particular emotion, then it is prakhya. It is not a matter of reasoning. It's not a matter of analysis. It's not a matter of mathematical calculation. You have simply to dive into it and seize it inwardly. That is the first essential of all great artists, prakhya. But even that is insufficient. Upakhya. You should have the gift to give expression to it, because it is only the half of the whole game. Prakhya and upakhya, as an Urdu poet puts it beautifully, दिल के क़िस्से कहाँ नहीं होते, हाँ वो सबसे बयां नहीं होते. So that gift, that power of giving expression to what you have inwardly realized and felt, that is known as upakhya. In the words of Croce, intuition and expression, these two are the most essential qualities or attributes of a great artist. So, you have to develop this aspect of upakhya, and then there is third thing more. Sometimes it so happens that a pause expresses more than an expression. I'll give an example from poetry first. There is a beautiful poem by Browning in English, 3 Days. The heading is 3 Days. A friend is departing and he puts the question, when will you return? He says, after 3 days. And Browning gives a pause. 3 days. There is a pause. And then he proceeds. Now that pause shows the impatience of the man. 3 days as if it is 3 years, and so on. In Sanskrit poetry also, for instance, in Bhagavad is Uttaramcharit, we find. When Vasanti is repudiating Rama for having deserted Sita, she says, Tamasi me hridayam dvitiyam tvam kaumudi nainayor amratam tamange त्वमसि मे हृदयं द्वितीयं त्वं कौमुदी नयनयोर अमृतं त्वमंगे इत्यादिभिः प्रियशतैर अनुरुद्ध्य मुग्धां तां अंदर अथवा किमेव उत्तरे. You said to Sita, Tvamasi me hridayam dvitiyam, thou art my second heart, thou art my second soul. Tvamasi me hridayam dvitiyam, tvam kaumudi nayanayor, thou art moonlight for my eyes. Tvam kaumudi nayanayor, amritam tvamange, thou art like a nectar, like ambrosia to my body. Ityadibhi priyashatair anuruddhya mugdham tam. By such flattering words, having beguiled that poor innocent girl, then there is a pause. Athava kimotra. After that I don't want to say anything. Now in not having said anything, she has said more than 5 volumes could have said. And so there is the pause effect in music, where a slight pause is necessary. When I first heard Abdul Karim Khan, it was a Deshi Raga, and he brought out such a wonderful effect by giving a pause. You see, after Mano, he gives a slight pause. So friends, then, these are some of the aspects which occur to me as the most essential in the aesthetics of our music, which unfortunately are completely ignored by our modern artists. The present tendency in our art, why did Dhrupad die? Dhrupad is a great, majestic, grave art. Why did it die? Because they began to indulge in acrobatics of Tala, in a duel of Tala. They ignored the Swara, and no kind of music, however great it may be, can live, can survive if it neglects the beauty of Swara. And so also my fear is that just as Dhrupad died at the altar of Tala, even so Khyal is going to die at the altar of Taans. Now, I have noticed within the last 30, 40 years that that the artist doesn't pay any particular attention to the cheesa as such, to the rendering of the cheesa as such. Hardly has he sung the mukhra when he goes on with taan after taan, taan after taan, taan after taan. And if I am not exaggerating, 95% of our artists are entirely out of tune in the taan. Perhaps even more. The rag is butchered, the tal is murdered, only acrobatics of taan. Simply and so on. Now this is going to kill our music. Taan simply for the sake of taan. You see, a rag, the rendering of a rag is an architectonic whole. And that in that whole, of course, everything has its place. The rhythm, the tala, the boltan, the taan, the alap, everything has its place. And everything should contribute its own quota to the beauty of this architectonic whole. But when you have hardly sung the mukhra, the opening piece, and go on executing taan after taan, taan after taan, as if it is the entire aesthetic aspect of the raga, what will happen? And even that Tana, what kind of Tan? There are 5 conditions for a Tan, for a good Tan. The first condition is that each note should be distinctly audible, however fast it may be. If you say, this is no Tan. Each note should be audible, however fast it may be. That is the first condition. The second condition is that it should be in the proper form. That note should be in the proper form. The third condition is that it should be a note of the raga in which you are taking the Tana. The fourth condition is that there should be a beautiful combination of the notes of the Tana. Simply gamapa, gamapa, gamapadapa, gamapadapa, gamapadadidapa. It's all vocal exercise. It has absolutely no aesthetic whatsoever. So, this is the fourth condition. And the fifth condition is that it should be in close assonance with the tal or with the lay of the tal that is going on. What happens today is that the lay of the Tan goes on in its own way, the lay of the tabla goes on in its own way, and there is forced landing near the sum. So it all becomes mechanical, a mechanical piece. And of course I need hardly say that there should be no mudra dosha. Making wry faces, throwing out hands and feet like this. You see, when I was in All India Radio and Ustad was singing, throwing out his hands like this and so on. And there was a European musician sitting by my side. He said, what is the theme of the song? I said, love. He said, my God, do people make love like this in your country? And then, in another concert, a lady artist was executing a number of tanas, and it was not music at all. And a gentleman whispered in my ear, don't you make any distinction between noise and music? Now most of these taras are only noise. Only last night I heard some music and it was all noise. So what is going to be the condition of our Khal singing? Which is the Drupad is practically dead now. Tal is all that remains. Tappa is gone. There are very few singers of Thumri. It's a subject by itself on which I may, when I come next, speak separately. But Khal is a very important aspect of our music. And what is the condition today? It is nothing but simply Tan and Tan and Tan and Tan. There was a general complaint about our great artist, whose example I just gave you of Deshi Raga, that he didn't take many Taans, as if Taan is the soul of music. It has its place, there is no doubt, but Taan is not the whole of our music, it is not the soul of our music. And so that then, friends, if we take into consideration all these aspects, it's only then that we'll have a truly great art of Indian music.
Thakur Sahib for giving us such an enlightening lecture this evening. We are especially grateful to him because he is here only for 2 days and still he has spared some time for us, and for this I extend our gratitude to him on your behalf and on behalf of the Institute. You will all agree with me that when I requested him to speak, I certainly did not request 87-year-old Hogi. I requested 87-year young man, and you have all seen it, that how interesting and how lively his lecture has been. I only hope we'll have some more opportunities to listen to him and to benefit by that. And I thank you all for coming here and coming here in such a short notice. Thank you very much.